was looking to my left side. I was on the table, and this face kept doing this.
The following presentation is based on real events. The witnesses involved are real people. Their claims have been investigated. These are their true stories of encounters with the paranormal.
Hey, what's up guys? Jonathan Gray from Graystar Paranormal Institute. So, a few months ago, I had posted a video on my website and on my YouTube channel about a woman from New Hampshire that experienced a sighting of a black triangle hovering directly above her house. Now, since then, we have been in contact with our witness, and we have gone through a lot to try to get her the help and answers that she requested from Graystar. So with that said, we have been working with her for over a year now. In fact, today, February 19th, 2018, is the 1-year anniversary of the sighting of the massive black triangle over her house. So the story goes, she was laying in bed sleeping, and her husband woke up early to go outside to smoke a cigarette. While he was outside, he saw a set of lights in the distance just over the airport that was directly parallel to their house. So he thought nothing of it at first, but then he noticed that the lights were acting kind of unusual and coming towards him. So he went inside the house to wake up his wife so that she could come outside and bear witness to the strange occurrence. When they actually got out onto the porch, they had noticed that the lights had approached just above treetop level, and the lights were no longer just lights. They actually belonged to a large black triangle-shaped craft. They were on the porch for what they thought was just moments, when in reality, over a half an hour had passed. When they walked back into the house, they looked at the clocks and saw this fact. They walked back into the house thinking nothing of the craft, as it still passed over their home when they were walking in the door. All of a sudden, it felt like their experience just wasn't important to them. We wanted to find out exactly what took place in those missing moments. I suggested that she undergo hypnotic regression. We had trouble finding somebody in New Hampshire that would put her under hypnosis, so we reached out to several groups, and unfortunately they were unable to help. So I suggested that she contact her primary care physician. He put her in contact with somebody that was certified in the state of New Hampshire to place her under hypnotic regression. And so, after a few times going under hypnosis, the last time brought back some memories of what actually took place during those missing minutes standing on her porch. Now, when you come to a paranormal organization to research your claim, there's a bit of hesitation. However, in Missy's case, she's come to us without hesitation, without reservation, to seek the truth and to promote the truth that she has seen. Without further ado, here is the full interview of the hypnotic regression recount with Missy. Since your encounter, what's happened?
Well, I went for the regression the first time I went for regression, nothing came of it. Nothing. I couldn't recall anything. So I believe it was the fourth time. Yeah, it's about the fourth time. It's difficult because it's hard for me to, I guess, comprehend or try to admit that this is now my reality compared. It's a big pill to swallow. Going back to the night of the encounter, I saw myself in Shaw. It was like a step by step. It's hard to explain, but it was kind of like watching clips of a movie in a way. That's kind of what it reminds me of.
Like a flashback?
Yeah. I could see and I could remember now being lifted, but it wasn't like a falling feeling, which sounds strange, and it sounds strange enough in itself, being lifted off the porch away from my husband, which, I mean, that I'm trying to soak into my mind as it is kind of messed up. But I didn't have the feeling that I was falling, but I knew I was moving, and I knew I was moving. I wasn't on the porch, and I was being lifted up, but it kind of felt like I was in like a bubble type thing, because I didn't feel scared or like that feeling of your gut falling. And then the next thing was, I remember standing on like a padding, like in the gym, that spongy feeling under my feet, and it was kind of cool, but the air was very heavy, very thick, like very tropical on a very humid day. And I would get like blasts of like a cool, cold air, and I was okay. And I was laying on like a table. Ugh. And I kept getting this face. And it was, I want to say my second or third regression. I could only get to the face, and then I would come right out of it. But it was like I was looking to my left side, I was on the table, and this face kept doing this, like in my face.
And a lot of people also, whenever they encounter the gray entities, they usually put their face right up to your face to kind of control your thoughts and to calm you down.
Oh.
And that's very common for that to happen. So that's interesting that he kept kind of doing that to you, and then you automatically be blocked at that point.
Yeah.
He's like a goalie, for your subconscious. So that's very common to have happen.
It was very scary for that. It just kept going right up, like, and I felt like he was trying to scare you. It was scary. It scared the shit out of me. That's not something that you see every day, and I didn't know if I'm thinking of that, if that's coming to mind because of shows that I've watched or other things that I've seen, and it's like it in my subconscious, but it didn't feel that way. It felt real, and it scared the shit out of me. And then when I tried the regression the second or third time, and that face kept coming to me, I just popped right back to, I couldn't go any further. So the time I did go for it further, it was like my fourth regression. Every time he'd look at me in my face like that, and I would turn my head, there was a lady that I was very comfortable with on my right-hand side, and every time I looked at her, I was fine. I was okay. She was beautiful. She was like the most beautiful person I've ever seen in my life, and I felt very calm with her. It was more, if you could love somebody, or have somebody love you more than a parent, like more than your mom, that type of love, that's kind of what I got from her. And she would like soothe my arm, and she'd say, "Oh, now Missy, we go through this, we've been through this before, it's not going to take long, don't worry, we're almost done, you're fine, you're okay, Shaw's fine, he's in the other room, he's almost done, he's okay, you do this every time." Like, but it was the most angelic, beautiful, sweet voice I've ever heard in my life. But I could hear her voice in my mind, which I know sounds kind of kooky, but she wasn't moving her lips, like talking to me. She was through her mind, and I could hear her voice. I could hear everything. And it was just that quick that I can remember hearing noises like when you're in a dentist office, you know, you're having like procedures done, you hear like the clinking and the clanking. I
Now, what were they actually doing to you? Do you
Um,
recall that?
I remember I have a scar from, I've had 2 back surgeries. And there was one point I remember they were looking at my scar, and it was like they were talking to each other. I don't remember feeling any pain, or I didn't feel anything being done, but I remember them like looking at my stomach and looking at my scar, and them kind of like talking or conversing with each other and like being amazed with it. But I mainly remember her. She was just, I felt like I had always known her,
Right.
type of thing.
So you got a very calming, relaxed,
Oh, yeah.
best friend, higher than a mother's love feeling
Yeah.
when you were around her.
Yep.
And obviously the other entities. What did the other entities look like?
Ugly. I'm sorry. I shouldn't. Sorry, God. But more whitish. They were like a cream, like a silvery white, really big black eyes, and he looked kind of like mean faced, scrunching, just mean.
They look mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But they were just so creepy. And where the table was, and I remember that one was, I was like this. I was on the table, my head was this way, and he was right there. And he kept putting his face into my face. And I turned my head, and that's where that lady was. And the minute I looked at her and heard her voice, I was fine. I was okay. There was no problems. I was okay. It was like I had always known her. I was very comfortable with her. But when I would turn and look at them, I would have to turn and look at her again. She would tell me to look at her. I do remember that she would say, "Look at me, concentrate on me. It's okay. It's going to be over before you know it. And don't worry, just concentrate on me. Don't worry about them. You're fine." Kind of like a mom when you're in a doctor's office and you're scared and you're having something done, basically.
Right.
That's
Right. And now, who was doing the procedures to you?
the whatever they were.
Okay. So the smaller ones were
Yeah.
So she was kind of overseeing, making sure that you were okay.
Yeah.
And the other one kept popping his face in your face while the other ones were doing what they needed to
Yes.
do to you. Okay. Alien entity popping his face up, which is telling me that he's trying to block those thoughts from your memory. It's almost like he's knows which place to plant, the screen memory. When you went through the regression, every time he pops his face up, that's when you'd go blank.
Yes.
And you have her trying to make their jobs easier and kind of be humane to you,
Yeah.
in a sense, so that way you're not terrified.
I didn't feel like I was going to be harmed. Not that I know of anyway. I don't remember what I felt. Does that make sense?
When you get your memory wiped, you kind of really don't
Yeah, I
remember
don't
as
know
much.
what my emotions really were, I guess, how I was feeling.
Now, how many times did you see the hypnotherapist to get regressed?
I've seen one
Overall?
4 times. It was 4 times, and it's been throughout the year. That face would pop up, and then nothing. I would just kind of come back.
When we were going over your case and everything, I noticed that you were really adamant that you wanted to remember.
Yeah.
And so holding on to that and knowing and feeling and just that drive to get to the truth, I think that helped you break down the walls a lot faster.
Yeah, but I also, now that I know the truth, I kind of kick myself in the ass in a way, which probably sounds silly, but it is what it is.
How's life been since everything started?
It's it's really a day by day, because when you go growing up, I mean, every household is different, but I was always taught that there's God and Jesus is God's son, and he's the higher power, and that's how it is, and there's us. So that's how life always was. And to realize, honestly, I never really thought too much of UFOs and stuff. It was like ghosts and spirits, and I would see things now and then, and my friends and I would like try to, oh, we're gonna ghost hunt and do this, and growing up, Ouija board or whatever, and my mom would always freak out, and it's not allowed in her house. It never was. She's totally against all that stuff. But I never really thought of like UFOs or aliens. And
Looking back at the experiences you had that were paranormal in your past, how many do you feel translate over to the extraterrestrial portion of things?
Now that this has happened, it makes me wonder if all of them were. I mean, it makes you question everything. Your whole existence, reality of. So everything I saw, the shadow person at a place I had worked at, was that an entity, or was that an alien, or was that really a ghost, or what was that? So now I question every single thing. Every single noise I hear now, I wonder, is that really something? Are they coming back? Are they just something that only I can that only I can see, and like other people I'm with can't see them? And then people think I'm crazy, because that's something my family and I are experiencing. My oldest son, even prior to the event, to Sean and I seeing the craft and having the experience, my son and I were rearranging the living room. He was bringing stuff downstairs in the basement, and all of a sudden he came barging up the stairs and through the door, and I never thought anything of it. I just figured, typical teenager just doing his thing. It took, I would say, a good couple of years before he finally, and Shaw he had to bribe him, he had to give him $20 to tell him what happened. And this sat with this kid for all that time, never said anything. Come to find out, he was downstairs in the basement, and under the stairs came this ball of light, and it came out from under the stairs, and it circled by him. It kind of like went by his feet, went up and around, and like kind of hovered or sat in front of his face, and then it went around the dryer and around the washing machine and went out through the wall in between the washing machine and dryer, like sucked out. He was like 14, 15 years old at that time, and that has sat with that kid all this time, and he never said anything.
That's a good reason for him not to want to tell you guys that happened.
Right.
Because then he's in the same position that you're in now, that you feel like, okay, what just happened? Do I tell people? Do I tell my parents that this happened? Especially when you guys were, kind of religious and not having that kind of thing, And then for him, finally, years later, to come out and say, all right, well, you know what? Since you bribed me, I'll tell you what happened. But, don't judge.
No, and not at all. And I feel bad that as a teenager, you have enough on your plate as it is, and with other issues that go on in homes and stuff, for that to sit with him all that time. And to wonder and to have an experience like that.
Makes you feel bad as a
Yeah,
parent.
like that's. I would take every experience from my kids, and I would take them all so they could just live life in a little bubble with clouds and bluebirds over their heads.
Oh yeah.
You know,
So we want to protect our kids from things like this.
and you
Now-
can't.
Yeah. Going back to that ball of light, a lot of cases have had encounters. A lot of clients might have had encounters with balls of light prior to being regressed and telling us their experiences of being abducted. And the balls of light play a significant role in many cases all across the United States. In many different countries, people have talked about white balls of light, blue
Yep.
balls of light, just different colors, different sizes. But I guess apparently there are entities that are completely separate race of beings that are made of light, and
Oh.
they actually travel in this ball of light to wherever they need to go, do whatever they need to do, communicate, gather information. We're not sure.
Yeah.
It's not like we could sit there and ask them, hey, what are you doing? And even so, they're a ball of light, so it's not like there's a little communication gap there.
So that's what they are, is just a ball of light.
That's one side of it. There's this belief that there might be a race of beings, of ancient ascended beings that are nothing but pure light.
Yeah.
And that's how they, their most energy efficient form is a sphere. So
Yeah.
And that's how they travel. The other idea behind the spheres of light is that the extraterrestrials somehow use that as a drone or as like a probe, and it's technological.
Oh, that, yeah.
And they've been seen several times with the gray entities or the Nordic entities. So looking at the overall scope of your claim and what's going on, the pieces are there to the puzzle.
Yeah.
And it's all the same puzzle.
It's crazy. It's a reality. You wake up every day, you get the kids to school, you do your everyday stuff, and then you're dealing with, in reality, like a Star Trek or whatever you want to call it, life. Like 100% really happening. I know what Shaw and I saw. I know what we experienced. Now the regression is different for me, and I'm trying to soak that up in my head because it's not something that I remember like I remember actually seeing the triangle and the sighting. That was 100% real time. I remember seeing that. I know what happened. I know that there was missing time.
So
Whatever.
the triangle sighting was 100% conscious experience.
Yes.
Like you seeing a car drive.
Yes,
down the street.
exactly. Like looking at you and sitting on this couch.
And so you would describe the regression as like what, more like a dream state almost?
Yes, yeah, I'm having a very hard time comprehending that if that was a reality, if that's what really took place during the missing time, or is that something that I've put in my mind because there was a missing gap. So something had to happen in that missing gap, or maybe I did just stand there. I don't know. I just know that to experience something, there's time gone, and you don't know how you got from A to B being moved. It's just, I don't know. I probably am talking in circles. I probably sound weird,
That's what
but
it feels like after a while, because the thought process to it is everybody that experiences these things has to go through this process where they're questioning their own sanity, they're
Yeah.
questioning the reality that they were born into. And here's the thing. When we're born, we accept the reality that we're born into as that's our reality.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not open to other realities and other perspectives because we're so ingrained in living on this hamster wheel that we
Right.
call life. And when anything is unusual pops up in our perspective, and we look at it, we can only see it from the human perspective, and we can't see it from any other perspective unless we really are open-minded and accept that we don't know everything, and our universe is much bigger and much more complex than we could have possibly imagined.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at ourselves as an advanced species, but you look at primates, they're only 2 chromosomes different from us, and they're very
Right.
different
Yeah.
in their social structure than we are as human beings. So when you have an extraterrestrial race that might be a few chromosomes more advanced than we are, we can't relate. Chimps can't relate to us.
No.
So how are we going
How are we going to relate to them?
to extraterrestrials? So, I mean, your kind of shock and questioning your own experience is very natural. It's very normal.
Yeah.
And people can't really judge that because unless it happens to them.
In your everyday life, it would be so much easier, honestly, and it probably sounds terrible, but if we were assaulted or mugged or anything to that nature, people can relate and understand and have sympathy. Oh, my heart goes out to you. I'm sorry this happened to you. But for something like this in your life to experience and go through, you feel violated. Like, your mind is like, what the hell is going on? I really saw what I saw, really experienced, really happened. But there's certain people you can't talk to about that. And if you do, they're like, oh yeah, really, they sound really interested. But you can tell by the look on their face. And then you hear the comments that, chick's friggin' losing it.
Right,
Like,
right.
seeing UFOs and shit.
Exactly. It's kind of like, it's the same concept of being raped or mugged, but
Yeah.
then having no outlet for it.
No.
There's groups out there that,
Yeah.
they'll talk to you, but it's not as socially acceptable.
Mm-mm. At all.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there's no medical programs set up for that. There's no law
There's
enforcement
nothing.
programs set up to help
No.
people that have been abducted. Like, go get them. You tell them, a cop, that you saw.
And I
a
asked, they were
UFO.
state troopers actually at my work, and it was within that week of the encounter and the sighting and everything.
And you asked them, right?
And I asked them, I said, were there any reports? I said, because I know it had to go over the highway. I know it went over 93, and it was big enough that they would see it like that. It was huge. Oh, no, no, you should call and maybe find out. So right then and there, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Right. And when you gave me the description of the triangle, and I did an overlay map of where you said it was blocking out,
Yeah.
we were calculating that as almost around 160 to 200 feet.
Yeah. It was huge.
That's a big object.
That's
to see
huge.
hovering in the sky.
Yes. And for us to walk into the house, like, that goes on every day.
Yeah.
I watch a balloon in the sky. So, I don't know, maybe more things will come out.
Like you were saying, you'd be more like, hey, look, where's that balloon going? Out
Exactly,
of
and I
curiosity.
watched
you walk
them.
back in your house after you see this massive
Yeah.
object hovering, like it wasn't even as important as a balloon. It was
Exactly.
Like it was a bug.
100%. And I know it was still, it hadn't even finished actually going over the house.
Right.
And I remember turning my head, looking at Shaw, him looking at me, and we just walked into the house like robotic. Like, oh, shit, it happening, Anybody would be running out there, if we're in the right state of mind,
Right.
would be freaking out, and yeah, so.
And with the ability of these beings to manipulate your consciousness, manipulate your space-time, awareness, I mean, how do we fight this? And I
can't.
think, and I feel from our perspective, from my perspective as an investigator, and your perspective as an experiencer,
Mm-hmm.
that when people talk about disclosure and how, we're ready for the truth, but how does a government come to its people and say, hey guys, we're almighty and powerful overlords of you,
Right,
but when it comes down to it,
we're screwed.
we have no control over what these other entities do to us or to
Yeah.
you. but keep paying your taxes.
Exactly.
You know?
Keep living and keep doing what you're
Society
doing.
would go, no, you're not the ultimate power. We don't have to listen to you anymore.
Exactly.
Society's the children, and the government's the big parent, big brother, so to speak, watching over us, telling us what to do and how to live our lives. That control, that power.
The control would be gone just like that, out the window.
So there's one aspect.
Yeah.
And then two, the alternative forms of energy that they're saying that they have at Area 51 and all these different things. The reason we haven't been given that technology is, one, if you give everybody free energy, it destabilizes the financial market.
Right.
Immediately, because now there's a bunch of things that become obsolete.
Yeah.
And two, if you give somebody a little device that could power their entire house, the size of a microwave.
Yeah.
What evil can that be used for?
Right.
What terrorist group's going to go, oh, look at this cool piece of technology. It's equivalent to a nuclear warhead, but it's just everybody gets one in their house. So
yeah, it's true.
we can't give away that technology. So there's a lot of secrecy. So even if we could make it socially acceptable by disclosure, like you said, everything would unravel.
Yeah, in
Overnight.
a second, it'd be done.
Exactly. And then the religious structures.
And that's the big eye opener.
Yeah.
Actually, for me, I still believe in God, like I believe He created the universe. So He can be whatever people feel is their higher power.
Right.
But to actually have in your face and experience someone else's airplane from a different planet or galaxy or whatever, that's insane, and it's really hard to swallow and comprehend that, oh shit, yeah, it is 100%
And
real.
like we were talking about, people accepting the reality. Your reality is based on, our reality. If you have faith, okay, the bigger the glory of the universe and the glory of the God that created it. There's that aspect. Or two, wait a second, maybe we don't know anything, and people are questioning, did aliens come down? Was Jesus an alien?
Right.
Are we just byproducts of some experiment from some extraterrestrial race? And do they have a God, or is God a human construct only? And maybe they're so advanced.
That's
out
somebody
there
that they
because-
created to
Right, to control us. I mean, if you think about it, what's the best way to control a species? Tell them that they're being watched.
Yeah, exactly. After experiencing that and seeing that in parts in my mind, I feel like we're frogs in a biology classroom.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's crazy to think that, I guess, but that's... as a little girl, I used to think that we're like Barbie dolls and God was like, whatever. That's how, kids think or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But experiencing that and seeing that and that coming to light in my mind of what may or may not have happened, I don't know, because that was just in my mind. It was flashes in my mind that it wasn't a full-blown reality that I could touch and feel. It was something that I saw. I don't know if it's real. But to actually experience knowing that there's other beings and they can just take us at any time. Doesn't matter.
Exactly. It makes you feel unstable.
All the time.
All the time.
My life changed February 19th, 4 a.m. It was Sunday. My life has not really been the same since that day.
You were forced to a completely abandon, not completely abandon, but accept that what you know is not what you know.
The same. Yeah.
Exactly.
Everything changed that day.
And when you look at life after that, and you look at that perspective of things aren't the same, everything that was at volume 10 goes down to volume 3.
Yep.
There's a bigger, higher power.
And I want to tell everybody. I do. That's part of me. Really does. I want to... Every person I meet, even start talking to them, small conversations, I want to let them know, like, hey, we're really not alone.
Yeah. You find yourself going, how can I not sound crazy? But share this
Exactly,
video?
yes. And then so you got to kind of feel people out, but at the same time, I just want everyone to know. They're going to know.
You find yourself dumbing down situations so that you can fit it into their construct, your grand, universal,
Yes.
experience. And people aren't ready. A lot of people aren't ready to accept
Take the
it.
blinders off, people,
Yeah.
because, I mean,
We live in a world much bigger than we first thought it was.
yeah, a lot bigger.
And I mean, scientists right now are discovering different planets that have life, and that's the stuff that we're allowed to know.
Right.
We still have like our top scientists. They aren't our top scientists. There's scientists out there that are a lot more advanced than the ones that like Stephen Hawking and
Oh, yeah.
and stuff. We have people out there that work quietly for our people, our civilization, and they're out there probably exploring the cosmos with these extraterrestrials, probably communicating, maybe even
And they have
colonizing.
been, yeah. I feel that they have been. Our government.
Yeah, oh yeah. And I feel almost like, we're talking about expanding into the universe. Maybe we've already done that.
I think we
And
have.
maybe we're just hanging
It's
out.
just what they tell us,
Oh yeah, exactly.
But I believe that 100%. Then what do we do? Put a car on a rocket with a dummy in it and then send it out? Are you kidding?
Exactly.
They are laughing their asses off.
Looking at this whole perspective and keeping in mind that I just stated that maybe we're already out in the cosmos. What about these people? There was a plane crash. Scientists and doctors that just allegedly crashed and everybody was killed.
Yeah.
What if there was no crash? What if they had to come up with an excuse to send these scientists and doctors
Somewhere else.
because
Yeah.
they didn't want to tell us?
Yeah.
So what do you tell them? Oh, they're dead.
It crashed. They died.
They died.
Sorry, that's it.
Exactly.
And then that's the end of the investigation.
Exactly. So you don't have to explain things much further than that.
Oh, so what about the black box, or whatever it's called? Like, you don't have to investigate that, or how, or what, or where. Nope, they're dead. That's it.
Yeah.
They're,
So, I mean, and obviously people can do as much research as they want, and I always encourage people to do research on whatever's stated in different videos online about aliens or technology.
But there's always blocks. You always get blocked. I feel that. And
Oh, yeah.
some of the stuff, it's just circles and circles. And I know I sound probably fruity and crazy, and people are going to be like, oh, she's friggin' nuts. Well,
We all do it eventually at some point. You have to get past that and say, listen, all right, as adults, as people who have had these experiences, you need to either accept it or get out of the way.
yeah.
Because these things are happening to thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands. I mean, David Jacobs did a roper poll, and it turned out that like 4%, and this is the numbers that he allowed, because apparently the numbers were, several
Probably
times
astronomical.
higher.
Yeah.
Exactly. But he said if he released that to the public, he just sound crazy.
Right.
And when they did that research, they found out that there was a lot of people experiencing exactly what you're experiencing, and probably people even watching this video can relate and have had the same experiences you have, but have no outlet for it.
Yeah, who the heck do you call, really?
Exactly. And a lot of the groups out there, there's places and people you can go, but they're not just releasing the information to people.
Right.
They're just kind of keeping it for themselves.
To themselves.
And trying to be special about it instead of
Yeah.
just taking it and saying, listen, guys, this is what we're learning about the universe. This is what people are experiencing here. Take the information. But no, now you have to sign up for, $10 a month to watch
Yes,
David Wilcock.
Yeah.
spew
And I'm
a
not
bunch
going
of
to do that.
information.
I can't. I
So-
can barely afford with what's
Exactly.
going through now.
There's not a lot of money in this field.
No.
Unless you're making the money
exactly.
off of,
And
blowing
that's,
smoke up people's
yeah.
asses selling books and t-shirts.
That's, yeah.
So
But I'd rather the information. And
exactly. And that's why we're doing what we're doing today. We're trying to get the information out there so that people can have access to it for free.
Mm-hmm.
Because, when you came to us, you didn't have a lot of options, and now, I'm learning from you, you're learning from us. We're kind of going back and forth and are trying to get people to get the help that they need.
Yeah.
And let them know that they're not alone in the universe.
And I've had friends that have had experiences and different things also, and I try to tell them, you know, there are people you can call and talk to, but no, it's a big step to do that because it's scary, you know, it's scary because you don't want to be judged.
If you could give one bit of advice to other people that may be experiencing what you're experiencing, what would you say to them?
I'd tell them to reach out 100%. Reach out. Let your story, let it be known, because you're not alone, and whoever does think, let them think whatever they want to think. I know my reality and what happened 100%. People are going to judge. They judge you no matter what. Reach out. Don't sit there and take it by yourself. Hearing myself say it and talk about it, and I still can't believe that it's real, and I feel bad because before having the experience, I was, what's the word, a hypocrite, I guess. I was one of the ones that were like, oh God, what a fruitcake, nut, or whatever. And I feel awful, so I'm so sorry. I feel bad.
Tables have turned.
Yeah, 180.
Yeah.
So now I'm the ones that, oh, shit, we saw what we saw, experienced what we, yeah. So now because I saw and experienced, so now it's like real.
Yeah.
But that's what people have to have. They have to, if they have to have their own experience, then I believe that it's going to happen.
Right.
I have a feeling that people are going to really know something's going to happen.
I mean, with all the stuff that's going on in our government right now with releasing information and Trump kind of just going and doing whatever he wants, eventually some information might come out. I mean, they've already admitted that they've been studying UFOs.
Right.
Which
little by little,
is
it's
a nice
coming out.
big
Yeah.
step. You know, it's a small step from my perspective as an investigator, because we've
Yeah.
already known for 50 years when they admitted it to us the first time.
Yeah.
When they, advertised and said it on the front page of the, Roswell newspaper.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So they already kind of told us.
Right. Exactly.
In the official statements and everything, now they're coming out and saying, that we really have been researching the phenomena. It's almost like you gotta kind of spoon feed it in little baby bites to people and say, here you go, here's a little bit of information.
Yeah.
So that they can swallow it.
Yeah,
easier.
and it's a big pill to swallow once you,
Absolutely.
experience.
So what's the next step for you as an experience?
Actually, I'm doing counseling because it's tough. It is kind of like a assault,
Yeah.
in a way.
And you discuss your experience openly with your counselor?
Yeah. Well, and my doctor. And my doctor is the one that.
And and that's another thing too. You have your doctors taking what you're saying very seriously.
Yeah.
Which is
They've
really
known.
nice.
Yeah, they
Which
know
is
me.
great, and it's nice in New Hampshire that we have access to doctors with open minds. And it
Yeah,
makes you
I'm
kind
lucky.
Of wonder, have you ever asked them, hey, have you ever seen anything?
He had a couple friends that actually saw,
Wow.
but that's their reality. That's what they saw with their own two eyes. They had that experience. He himself hasn't seen anything, but he can't tell me that I haven't seen it.
Right.
Because it just happened to be that week that I had an appointment with him. And I broke down. I was hysterical because when you experience something like that,
We walked down that road together.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
a windy road for sure.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, we've had a lot of people on YouTube and everything that saw the last video. All the comments, and I get to moderate the comments, and I didn't have any problems with anybody's heckling or anything, which I'm so grateful for that.
Oh yeah.
And from my perspective, what I do for research, we don't take any BS from our hecklers or haters or even our clients. If I didn't believe what you were saying, and I always make a point of this, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
I have other things to do.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
And when you're working with lots of clients, when you have your own stuff going on, taking the time out to communicate with somebody that's had these experiences, from my perspective, it's something that really has to be done with your whole heart. You can't just try to make a video to get views on YouTube or get notoriety. The reason I do what we do and what we're doing together is to get the information out there to the people.
Yeah, just let people know they're not alone. This is a huge set. I'm showing my face. I'm being who I am.
Mm-hmm.
To say, yeah, my husband and I, this is what we saw, we encountered.
Not many people are doing that.
It's real shit.
In fact, I haven't really seen too many that aren't writing books. You know what I mean? I mean, honestly, I mean, you got the Travis Walton, you got you know everybody going out there, and they had the experience. They took lie detector tests. They did all this stuff to these people. They put him through the loops. You know.
Yeah.
And you know, here he is.
But why would somebody want to make something like that? I don't understand.
Exactly.
That's like crazy.
Exactly.
You look like a Fruit Loop.
Right. Exactly.
When, I mean, I feel like a Fruit Loop.
And it's not something. It's not the type of attention one would crave.
No.
In a society.
Because I'm kooky enough as a person, to be honest with you. People have seen. I've what's the word? Kind of. Not as outgoing as I used to be. I'm just more quiet, and God, it changes your soul.
When you gaze off into the distance and recall and absorb all the information of the trauma and experience that you've been through, a lot of people with PTSD in the wars that's seen a lot of shit. Basically, that's what it comes down to, and that's what happens to a lot of the experiencers. They just kind of get this, everything's tuned down to a point where, you know, little shit, pathetic things that happen every day, you know, keeping up with the Kardashians is nothing to you anymore.
No.
You know, you're more concerned with, you know, the universe and your place in it in comparison to, you know, what kind of new car you're driving. You know,
exactly. I could give a rat's ass.
Yes. People, it changes people.
It truly does. It changes 100%. It does. And like I said, I feel bad and I have to apologize because I feel like a hypocrite.
Do you feel like this has changed you for the better or for the worse?
Honestly, I don't know if it's either or, to tell you the truth, but I know that I'm not as outgoing as I used to be. Most people, you watch them, notice other people, you see them either looking straight ahead, looking down. I'm always looking up. I'm always looking up to the skies, and I'm like, oh, thank God that's a plane. That's messed up. I never thought of like airplanes or stars or anything before, ever. There's some nights I can go out on my porch and have a cigarette. Other nights, I can't even make it past that door. I will start sweating. My heart will start pounding. I don't know what it is, but I can't.
You're expecting
it's
it to happen.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. And it's day by day and minute by minute. I don't know. I have no clue. That day, that minute, everything changed. You just look at things differently. As much as I try to be, I'm still happy in good moods and stuff, but you just, I don't know, it just changes you.
Thank you for sharing it with us. And thank you for sharing it with
Well, thank you for helping me.
Because they need to know, you know, everybody needs to know. They're not alone, there are things happening, and there's help.
Yeah.
You know, they can come to, you know, my group, or they can go get help somewhere else. You know.
But let somebody know.
Yeah.
They should.
Exactly.
It's not something you should live
Even if you
alone.
tell a close friend,
Yeah.
and it stays between the two of you, that close friend will keep an eye out on you a little bit more. So if something strange happens, they know that something strange might happen around you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, you know,
Just it's not something they should sit with and
I'd
internal themselves, I guess.
if there's one thing that I would take away from talking to you with your experience, and I would tell people, just be aware more of your surroundings. Look up a little bit more, like you've been doing, because then that way you can't see a different perspective unless you change your perspective on things. And you were forced to change your perspective, and now you're aware that other things happen, so you see things different. You got a little bit of PTSD from it, kind of, and that's what happens when we're not given enough information. So now we're kind of like a shocked animal. Yeah,
for real.
And
100%.
And when raising, if an experiencer has children, and they talk with them too.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. They should. You should. We do.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, at least.
Because now you're finding out too.
Yeah.
All the different things you didn't know.
100%. Because I would bring it up to my mom. I remember talking like, "Ma, do you believe in UFO?" Oh, hubbub! We don't talk about that stuff.
Oh yeah.
But then come to find out, my Nana, I guess, had seen a saucer that she thought, and we lived in Londonderry. She saw it over the willow tree, but she didn't want to say anything because, it was whatever. It was the 80s. She was older. She didn't want people to think she was losing her mind.
Right.
But that was the only thing I ever heard. But my mom would shut it right down.
It was
Don't talk about it.
Acceptable back
Yes.
then. Oh yeah.
Yep. Thank God it's a little more now.
We've come a long way.
We really have. Yeah.
But
really
we have so much further to go.
Yes, 100%. So we'll get there eventually.